Hey everybody, Michael Kelly here. I've had a few questions from people asking how we do the approval process for AP inside of Vista. So I thought I'd just show you a little bit briefly kind of the process that we typically run through when we're entering in our invoices and how that gets routed through Keystyle and how that gets routed from person to person inside of our company. Just kind of a brief overview. Hopefully it's helpful to some of you. Basically what we have here is a few different roles that I'm going to write down this left side here. The first role that's pretty important in AP is the vendor themselves. The next role that is of vital importance is the person that does the AP data entry, or what I'm going to call the AP clerk. Then we have the person who's doing the approval. A lot of times in construction companies, we are talking about the project manager. It could be an owner. It could be anybody who's approving the invoices, who actually has the authority to spend the money inside of a company. So I'm going to call this the approver. And then finally, we have the person that actually cuts the check, or rather sends the money out. And so I'm going to call this person the payment clerk. And then finally, the last thing that we have is we have the role of the person who is responsible for the cash in the company, who is responsible for the cash disbursement. So this can be a different person in a lot of different companies, but we'll just say the controller here. So the person who is responsible for actually the outlay of cash. Now, what we have is basically we have the process starts up here with the vendor, and the vendor sends in their invoice, right? So sends invoice, and at this point in time they have the invoice attached. Maybe it's an actual mailed invoice, maybe it's an emailed invoice, but they send the invoice in, and this thing gets taken in by the AP clerk. And now we're in Vista. We're going to use orange for Vista. And in orange here, we see that the AP clerk does the data entry. So they enter into AP unapproved. And they attach that same file, whether they have to scan it in, they attach that same file in AP unapproved invoice entry. Now, based on the reviewer groups that are on either the job, if it's a job invoice for a project manager, or the reviewer groups that are set up otherwise that they key in, it gets sent to the approver, and it gets sent to the approver inside of Keystyle. And here we'll use green for Keystyle. So inside of Keystyle, the project manager, the approver, the owner, whoever it happens to be, logs in and approves or rejects, but in this case approves the invoice itself. And inside of Keystyle, they see this same attachment, so they can actually see the attachment come through here. We have the so far fairly straightforward. Vendor sends the invoice, the AP clerk enters into AP unapproved, and the approver can actually see that invoice inside of Keystyle and approve it. Now it comes back to the data entry clerk, AP clerk, and inside of Vista, they use the AP unapproved invoice posting. So what it's called, and they post the invoice to AP with AP unapproved invoice posting. Okay, now kind of in the background here, what's happening is that this is automatically, transparently to the AP clerk. A lot of times they don't even know necessarily this is happening, but this is actually creating an AP transaction batch. So they've created, by posting this unapproved that has been approved by the approver, they create an AP transaction batch. And at this point, in both cases here, this invoice attachment has followed this so far through this. Now, that is posted in AP transaction batch because it's been approved. It's now ready to be paid. So the next step here is that the payment clerk, sometimes in a lot of companies I know the AP clerk and the payment clerk are the same people, but oftentimes it's not because it's of separation of duties and all that. We go to the payment clerk. The payment clerk here inside of Vista opens up the AP payment work file. Payment work file. And the AP payment work file, then once you select the invoice, and again at this point you can still see the actual invoice that was attached. This then creates a payment batch, AP payment batch. And once it's in a payment batch, now we can send it to the controller, who inside of Keystyle can review the checks. Once the checks have been reviewed and approved, the payment clerk can create the payment. And one note here is that although in the payment batch you can't see it, at this point inside of Keystyle, the person who is reviewing the checks can actually see the original invoice. We create the payment batch, which is either an EFT, creates either an EFT, a check, sometimes it's just recording a credit card payment, whatever it is, and that goes to the vendor, who then gets the money and can officially party. I'm assuming that's what vendors do with my money anyway when I send it to them. So that's the basic process that we follow. You can see that what's kind of important here is that original invoice comes trucking through from the original time that the vendor mailed or emailed it to us, and it follows all the way through the process, so all the way down to the reviewing checks, which happens inside Keystyle. Anything can happen. So that's kind of the process that we follow. Hopefully that was helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free and give us a call, send us an email. Thank you.